My son recently graduated high school, and while I'm immensely proud of him, he's also very grounded. He thought it would be a funny prank to draw beards on his sisters, mid-teen and younger teen, while they slept, with black skin dye, which has been a nightmare to get off. His sisters are furious, and I've never seen my wife so angry. He's in deep crap and has lost all privileges, including his prom and grad party, though we did attend his ceremony and we had a nice dinner. I knew my mom planned on getting him a car. He drives an older car in my wife's name, and I was okay with it, but I thought she understood not right now. Well, my mom showed up the other morning with his graduation gift, and guess what it was? The darn $80,000 car he didn't need to begin with, and he certainly doesn't deserve right now. My wife was angry, and it was a slap in the face to my daughters. I asked what she was doing, and she said it was still his graduation. Then she told me we were mean for making him miss his prom and grad party as their once-in-a-lifetime events. My son stood there beaming, and I felt so bad for my daughters. I asked her to return the car, and she said no, it was his. She said what he did didn't change. He worked hard, and we should be proud. My wife was ready to lose it, so I told my mom to get off our property and that she was banned from our house for disrespecting my parenting. She isn't even going to be invited to his going-away dinner in August before he leaves for college. Obviously, my mom and son are angry. Am I the idiot for banning my mom from the house for giving my son a graduation gift while he was being punished? No 18-year-old needs a darn $80K car. That's just stupid. What the heck will he have to look forward to? Plus, he acted like an idiot and was being punished. Don't suppose Grandma's gift extends to covering the insurance. Don't worry, he will wreck it soon enough. We can only hope he's alone in the car. Honestly, he should have had the same thing done to him and let him try to get it out of his skin. What he did was not funny, and you could tell who Grandma cares more about. I would also point out that the way he did it can be considered assault, and he's not a child anymore. Sit down and tell him exactly what could have happened to him, and that he is old enough to know better. I would have offered that compromise. You're grounded for the next couple of weeks regardless. However, I understand that prom and the grad party are giant once-in-a-lifetime events, so I decided that you can go to those if you allow your sisters and me to draw whatever we want on your face with the same dye you used. I had the wrong grandparents. Honestly, I've never been so proud of a parent I've never met. LOL. Nope, you are 100 million% correct. Your mom is so out of line it's not even funny. Your son? Well, he's going into adulthood, and this is what consequences look like. Seriously, I'm sitting here cheering this dad on. If more parents were like him, who held their kids accountable for incredibly crappy behavior and backed their spouses up, holy heck, the world would improve overnight. That, and I'm 42 years old and have yet to own a car that's worth more than $50K. How the heck does a darn teenager deserve a luxury car? OP is 100% in the right. What's the end goal here? Well, a lot of people might be happy he punished his kid in the comments. I'm looking at the punishment, reading how the kids are at each other's throats, and wondering how the punishment fits the actual crime. Why doesn't he get his grad present? He did do the hard work to get there, and it had nothing to do with his prank. How does missing his prom, etc., that, yes, is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, teach him anything other than resentment? Don't get me wrong, I believe he should be punished, but not to the degree you guys are punishing him. I'm 20 male, several years younger than my siblings. They're married with kids for the most part and settled while I'm still in college. I live close to my family, so even when I'm on campus, I can see them easily at weekends. I was always close to my nieces and nephews. One of my nieces, Elodie Tween, is on the spectrum. She's the sweetest kid, but doesn't pick up on sarcasm or when someone's making fun of her, which can cause problems for her in school. My brother Nick, 33, got married a few months ago and is a stepdad to Sophia, tween female. Sophia's been caught bullying Elodie several times, mocking her, teasing her in a mean-spirited way, and generally being unkind. Elodie didn't realize until Sophia started saying downright awful things to her. The rest of my nieces and nephews didn't like that, and now when we're all together, Sophia's excluded. They don't want to be around a bully or force Elodie to act like Sophia's a good person to be around. The bullying's been a point of conflict in the family. Nick and my sister, Elodie's mom, Becca, are hardly talking now, and Nick's wife is determined to defend Sophia, while Becca and her husband are so angry that Nick stands by this bullying. Their school got involved before summer break, and both sides received emails from teachers about the issue. Nick has taken issue with me still playing with and interacting with my nieces and nephews when Sophia is excluded. He accused me of favoritism and told me I should be working on ensuring Sophia is included and trying to be the fun uncle to her that I am to the others. He said he was really disappointed in me for helping to exclude a young girl. I told him I'm not showing favoritism when I support my nieces and nephews who don't include Sophia. I told him that I was protecting Elodie, who didn't deserve to be bullied by her family. I told him that the kids want to protect their cousin and sister, and if he wants Sophia included, he and his wife should nip the bullying in the bud, because otherwise, I see nothing changing. And I won't blame the kids or Becca and her husband for keeping Sophia away from Elodie. Nick told me all I basically said is I don't care about Sophia, and screw me for that. She deserves better. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Tell your brother that if he and his wife actually parented Sophia and gave her actual consequences for bullying other kids, she wouldn't be excluded, and maybe the other kids would actually like her. Right now, they're setting her up for failure, and they have nobody to blame but themselves. Why would the kids want to hang around someone who's nasty to them and picks on a child with a disability? Your brother's being intentionally obtuse. His stepdaughter is a bully, and instead of addressing it, he's trying to shift focus to the other kids, so he doesn't have to defend his inability to parent. If this keeps up, it won't just be his stepdaughter being excluded, because the family's only going to put up with this BS for so long before his entire family unit is considered unwelcome at gatherings. The school, too, if it's worth anything, will only tolerate bullying for so long after the parents have been called before it takes more permanent actions. Your brother and his wife need to handle this ASAP. My parents divorced when I, a teen male, was a preschooler. My memory of them together is really fuzzy, and the normal to me is mom's house, dad's house. Mom's house always felt more like home to me though, but we live with my grandparents, so maybe that's why. And I always loved living with my grandparents. I'm really close to them. I never hated going to my dad's house though, and we were close until the global issue stuff happened. My dad introduced me to his girlfriend in December 2020, and they married in May 2021. She has 3 kids. Her oldest is a tween, her middle is a pre-tween, and her youngest is a kindergartner. The youngest is a boy and the other 2 are girls. When we all moved in together, the oldest and I got our own rooms, and the younger 2 shared. A few months ago, my dad and his wife were really annoyed because the pre-tween hates sharing with the kindergartner. They don't get along at all, neither do the girls, and the pre-tween doesn't like how clingy the younger one is, and he is clingy. He gets nightmares and wants to share a bed and all kinds of stuff, but not with the adults, with his sister, but he also asked me a few times. Because the girls don't get along, and because the tween is a girl who's at an age when sharing with a brother might be awkward, my dad told me he wanted his stepson to share with me. He laid out the expectation that I'll be there for my stepbrother for nightmares and stuff, and to really invest in being a good brother because he's far more affectionate and longing for closeness that neither of his sisters gives him. I told Dad that I wasn't okay with any of that, and I didn't want to share a room with his stepson and be responsible for a closeness that I didn't want. He told me I had no choice, and that I should want closeness because we're family, and I have the chance to have a brother. The rest of that week, he was in my former room. He tried climbing into my bed every night, waking up once I went to bed. I was a really light sleeper and chatting my ear off. 2 years ago, I was given the choice to stay at either parent's house more permanently. With the changes at my dad's, I decided to stay with my mom and not go to my dad's for parenting time anymore. Dad didn't like it, but he thought I'd come back around. I still haven't been there since. My dad's wife is furious because her son hates being on his own in the room all the time. She berated me really badly for that, and my mom told her never to contact me again when she heard it. My dad told me I needed to stop acting like this, and I came across as very entitled and selfish. Am I the idiot? The only one who's entitled and selfish is your dad and stepmother. It is not your job to parent his stepchild or her son. The other siblings don't want to do it, and they share their parents. You're not related to these kids in any way, and your dad expects you to do more for him than he's doing, or the real siblings are doing? Tell your dad that he's supposed to be parenting you. You're not supposed to be parenting his stepson. You aren't your stepbrother's emotional support human. Your mom should file for a change in child support, since you're with her more often. And sadly, it sounds like your dad and his new piece are making it loud and clear that your concerns are less important to them than his new family getting what they want. So frankly, I don't blame you. My fiance and I, both 30s, are getting married in a couple of months. We now need to finalize our menu choices for our guests. Now, we're vegetarians. In general, we're pretty relaxed vegetarians. If we go out, we don't mind if our friends and family choose meat or fish to eat. The same goes for if we visit family. If there's a veggie option, then that's great. Now, back to the wedding. On looking at the choices, and given it's our day, we thought it would be nice to have a fully vegetarian menu. My 32 female parents are paying for the meal and have been absolutely stunned by this choice. They say it's disrespectful to people who aren't in the vegetarian culture and disrespectful to our own values in terms of ensuring our friends have a nice time. They say it's forcing our ethics on other people. My viewpoint is, it is one meal only on our day, and I'm sure it'll be delicious whatever they're served. None of our friends have ever complained when coming to our house for vegetarian food, but my parents say it's different at a wedding because people expect luxury food, especially if they're traveling from abroad. Many are, and apparently this needs to include meat. I'm honestly torn on this. Personally, I don't mind much if our guests eat meat, but it is inconsistent with our own life choices, and it is our day, so that could make it feel inauthentic. And I think the whole focus on the meat thing is quite generational. My parents are in their 60s. My fiance agrees with me, but the issue is that my parents are very kindly paying for the meal. Am I the idiot if I got everyone only vegetarian food? You are the idiot. You mentioned a lot of family coming from overseas. This is a big expense and hassle for many of them. And if they know your parents are paying for the meal, they may very well judge your parents for being bad hosts. And then it's your mom and dad that get the flack, not you. And that's not fair. Normally, if a bride and groom are hosting their own wedding, and most people are local, I would say go ahead. But if you're layering different cultural traditions and norms on top, plus the fact that your parents are paying for part of your wedding, then you should consider compromising. You mentioned that you're easygoing about your vegetarianism, so why make this a hill to die on? If you really want to have everything exactly your way, then pay for the entire wedding yourself, and that way you can't blame your parents. This is such BS. People can go one darn meal without eating meat. My wife and I are of your parents' generation, and your idea sounds delicious. Luxury food? What's not luxury about eggplant parm, veggie quiche, half of any given Indian menu, stuffed peppers, guacamole, moussaka, asparagus risotto, shakshuka, broom Wellington, tortellini with Alfredo sauce, or stuffed manicotti? If your parents go to a wedding and every dish has meat, does that mean that the bride and groom are forcing their ethics on other people? Are couples that want child-free weddings forcing their ethics on other people? If a couple refuses to use rice because of its negative impact on wildlife, it instead has their guests throw birdseed or flower petals or nothing at all, is that forcing their ethics on other people? If you refuse to use helium balloons, ask for donations to an animal charity instead of gifts, or refuse to use imported flowers, can they see how ridiculous and petty they are? Your parents are very kindly offering to help pay for the wedding of their beloved daughter. That shouldn't come with strings attached. I had been dating a single mother for over 6 months. It began casually and got more serious than either of us planned. We agreed that I would meet her son if we hit 6 months. Our date when I met him started strong. We went to see Inside Out 2, the new Pixar movie. Then we went for lunch at a casual sit-down restaurant. The kid was well-behaved and polite. I was a brat when I was his age, a young grammar schooler, so I was super impressed. After lunch, we went for dessert at an ice cream chain where you pick your ice cream, and then they put it on a cold stone and use tools to mix in other ingredients. We decided in advance that we would all have ice cream sandwiches. I thought it would be cool to make a mix and match sandwich with 2 flavors of cookies and a custom filling. It turns out that isn't a good option. They had 10 pre-made combinations in the freezer with the ice cream cakes. There were some good choices, so we all got what we wanted. The problem was at the counter. The machine came up with a tip option, and I skipped it. The girl behind the counter did nothing at all, besides point us to the freezer and then ring us up. I don't think either of those actions is tip-worthy. If she had made the sandwiches, then I would have tipped. After I took them home, she texted me that I was cheap not to tip at the ice cream place. I explained my logic that I didn't get any service, so why would I tip? She got very strident and actually called me to say that I behaved poorly and gave me crap for not tipping. I thought about this for a while and decided I did not need this crap. So I texted her that I didn't really see a future for us and that I didn't want to waste her time, so it would be best if we went our separate ways. She got upset and said I was throwing away our relationship over $3. I said it wasn't the money, but that she thought she had the right to tell me how to behave and yell at me over $3. We didn't even hold hands in front of her kid, and she only introduced me as a friend, so it isn't like the kid thinks of me as anything at all. My sister thinks that I should give my ex another chance, and now she understands my feelings about tipping. I told her that it wasn't about the tipping. It was about her getting upset over something so minor. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. As you say, it's not really about the tipping or not tipping. It's more about her reaction. If you've been dating for 6 months and this will break you up, the relationship probably wasn't going anywhere anyway. You made the correct decision to leave. She doesn't understand that it was her behavior that ended this relationship. It would have gotten worse if you had stayed, and she wouldn't be taking any responsibility if this sort of behavior she demonstrated continued, which I'm sure it would. My personal choice is your financial obligation. If Miss High and Mighty was so distraught over the lack of tip, why couldn't she provide it? It's implied here you paid the bill, so a $5 bill from her pocket wouldn't be a big deal. But she didn't do it because she was being cheap and wanted to give you crap. This is a manufactured crisis, and you, sir, just saved yourself a lot of misery. You most likely would have gotten attached to her son, and it would have been even harder to see those signs further down the road. I know because I was that man for 12 years. Once I started seeing the signs, I was in too deep and had 2 boys I started raising because their dads weren't in the picture.